And we're back. CP3 live from the lab. Redskins talk. Week 15. Redskins Jaguars. Redskins prevail 16-13 over Jacksonville with a last-second field goal by Dustin Hopkins after the first career interception by Fabian Moreau. Now, if you tuned in a few weeks ago, you heard me and DujunneaB talking about Fabian and having to step up and make a play, and he made a play in this game. But let's not get far ahead of ourselves. We got Robbie G on the line. He's going to give his quick takes on this game. I already started the Facebook live feed, and I see you guys already tuning in. Appreciate it. Donnell, Mark, what's going on? Corey, appreciate y'all tuning in right before the Monday Night Football game. But Robbie, I'll go ahead and let you give your take real quick before I bring Dujunnea on and we can break down this game. And I could actually give Jay Gruden some kudos, so definitely stay tuned because you know that doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, no, I appreciate getting my fan first take real quickly in here. I was shocked. I had some people over yesterday. Brian Brennan was here. We had Arun also was here. Then we had the Adrian Rutherford as well. And usually, I was expecting us to lose, and I was going to be okay with that for a better draft pick, but I had a great conversation with Dujunnea last week about how you never try to lose. If you lose and you get a better draft pick, then so be it, but you should always go out with every game with the intent to win. He convinced me of that. I agree, and I was going to root for the Redskins no matter what, but I wasn't going to be upset if we lost, but I was shocked. A come-from-behind victory, a great field goal to win it, and that was surprising. The Fabian Moreau interception was beautiful at the end of the game, and that's sort of, I think, our recipe for success going forward for the Redskins is keep it close until the end of the game and try to steal one, because I don't think we're going to blow anybody out with the team as it's currently constructed with the amount of injuries we've had, but at the same time we can keep it close and maybe win and continue the running game, which they did. Even though the running game wasn't working, they still used it at the end, which we've seen Jay Gruden too many times get away from. So I'm very excited about the Redskins and their opportunity. I'm happy that Dallas got shut out. It gives the opportunity there. It's still going to be difficult. Dallas has two teams that are pretty relatively easy to beat in Tampa Bay, and I'm sorry, Brian, the Giants. And at the same time, the Redskins have to play the Tennessee Titans, which I got Tim still here, and he really wants us to beat Tennessee because it'll help the Redskins to get into the playoffs as well. So it'd be big for the DMV if the Redskins are able to pull it off. And it'd be interesting to make that last game against the Eagles mean something. And we'll definitely, obviously, hope for Dallas to lose. It's definitely possible. Tampa Bay has played well at times this year. So, and the Cowboys have played badly at times this year. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I'm looking forward to listening to your guys' account. I'm going to share this to a couple of different groups. But happy holidays to you both if I don't talk to you. And I'll definitely look forward to talking more sports with you both in the new year.
All right, no doubt. As always, appreciate it, Robbie. Appreciate you sharing the feed. As always, you can call in or you can tune on the Facebook Live, which you are, 347-884-9299. Got my man Dujunnea Bland on the line, sports journey writer and insider. I wasn't on the show last week, so we haven't been on the air for a while. How you doing tonight, good sir?
I'm doing good, man. Doing real good. It's always better when the Reds get the win for business. So, doing real good this Monday.
Yeah, it's definitely always a pleasant victory Monday after 4 weeks of losing Mondays and losing Tuesdays. So, as I said, I got to give Jay Gruden a quick shout out. I had no confidence. I've been on the record by saying that once we got to our third/fourth string quarterback, I didn't feel this team would win another game this season. But through all the adversity yesterday, the defense showed up after they gave a lackluster effort the week before. The offense, found a way to get points when the defense did get a turnover at a critical point in the game. And lo and behold, Jay Gruden made in-game adjustments at halftime. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was drinking already, but I had to look at the bottle a couple of times when I was like, hold up. is Jay putting pistol plays in and read option to help Josh Johnson in the second half? What's going on here? It really must be Christmas time, because Jay Gruden doesn't do things to help his quarterback in the second half. He does things to help his ego in the second half. So I got to give some kudos to Jay Gruden for having an effective game plan in the second half and willing to wait for this team to win and getting that game time touchdown and that field goal winning drive to win this game. Dujunnea, what is your feelings about Jay Gruden after this victory that I know you and myself, I didn't really talk to you about the game before, but had high doubts that this team would be able to play well enough consistently for 60 minutes to win this game, but they found a way to pull it off and keep their playoff hopes alive?
I thought he did a really good job. Given the circumstances, again, there's another set of adverse circumstances with, having to change out guards again, losing a couple guys in the secondary. I thought the telling story was, for me, they were a very balanced squad early, and I tweeted it out as well about the fact that they stuck with the run, given that it didn't yield much. At times, he was very balanced, and what I liked about the second half was the fact that they not only stuck with their game plan, but they made adjustments on how they were going to orchestrate and get the passing game going. And that was important. 7 of 15, I believe, on third downs. Very important. And most of those, I believe, came in the second half. That helps to stage some drives for them and help get the defense a little wind, get a little wind back in them, and so that they're back and ready. That's what you wanted to see all season. But it's nice to see that they stuck with the game plan and tried to run the football to keep a balanced offense and to kind of keep that really, really good Jacksonville defensive front at bay a bit. So thought he did an excellent job and deserves a lot of credit for really staying with it, because we all know that at times when they are not yielding yards in the running game, he gets really, really trigger happy in the passing game, and it's really a testament, to him in the fact that he has the ability when he puts his mind to it to really do the right thing and be able to assist his quarterback and play to his strength.
Yeah, it was a pleasant surprise to see him make the adjustments that he did. And I mentioned on the post-game live last night that, he's having to deal with this adversity, and we've always talked about players developing on the field, but your coaches also have to develop on the sidelines, and him going through this adversity and having a fourth-string quarterback who he knows he can't send back on 5- and 7-step drops to try to throw the ball deep, that he's having to learn how to coach by fire by, doing what he has to do to get those tough yards, to have that third down efficiency which they've been lacking all season. But he stuck with the run. It wasn't, as you say, as effective as we would have liked it to, but it did what it had to do when it was time to do what it had to do, and that's what it all comes down to. It was a victory. It keeps their playoff hopes alive, and, we're not even going to get any more deeper than that. Just to get a couple of comments off, Mark Moyer, you did say it was going to be a 17-13 final. So, yeah, you was close. It was 16-13, so I got to give you kudos for that. What's up, Johnny? Appreciate you. What's up, Donnell? Appreciate you chiming in. Let's see. He said, Mark said Bills went to Green Bay after the Redskins cut him, Dujunnea.
I really haven't been able to follow that. That very well could be a possibility. I'm not really happy about that decision. Really makes no sense. I don't know. You got Byron Marshall, a guy who really, honestly, has been a liability. And I know they want to say that those two were kind of neck and neck, but I don't buy that
say the same thing. I just call it how I see it. I mean, the Bibbs move, I'm not really conflicted about it. I mean, Marshall, like you said, he made some mistakes, but I did know on that screenplay, he let the screen develop and let the blockers get their blocks on. That was my one complaint about Bibbs. He was a good player, but he would not let the screen develop. He always wanted to accelerate before the blockers could engage with their blocks and give him a chance to bust that big one. And, I mean, that's kind of from the, looking at it from the outside looking in, that's frustrating as hell when you see the potential for a big play, but because the running back isn't patient enough, it, ruins the play. Instead of a 30-yard or with his speed a possible touchdown, it's a 5 to 10-yard game because he's not patient. So, I mean, I'm not really that upset about the move myself.
Well, that's all fine and good, but he was a good special teams player, and I know fans probably felt some type of way about how the things were going special teams wise, but this is what happens when you have all these injuries, because your special teams guys have to come up to the roster and they have to start. So that brings someone else into that slot, and that's where you're seeing some. You saw a bit of that in that game. Guys missing, and I understand what you're saying there, but Bibbs was a key special teams guy, and was in on a lot of tackles, making plays, getting there first, and not allowing things like that, what we saw, to occur. So it's just part of it. You know what I mean? It's just part of it. When you got all the injuries they have along the offensive line, et cetera, the things they have along the offensive line, some of these special teams guys either get inactive or if they're not playing special teams nearly as much because they are starting. So it's unfortunate. It really is. But, yeah, I understand your point there. But I still, because of his special teams ability, he definitely deserves to be there over Marshall, as we saw on that punt return for a touchdown.
I must concede you are correct on that, sir. I didn't think about the special teams aspect, and yeah, that punt return for touchdown was kind of a dagger, and after that I did think it was bleak for the Skins, but the fact that they rebounded from that and were able to, prevail, was a good sign. But yeah, definitely, they hadn't given up one all year, and he has been a solid special teams player, so I do have to concede that point. I didn't take that into the factor, so yeah, I can see where you're coming from too, sir. Now let's get into another key factor in his game. Josh Johnson, he definitely let his legs, help dictate. He didn't have any fear of, breaking the pocket. You can tell, he made his first, second read. If it wasn't there, boom, he was gone. Which is with the backup and, injured offensive line, which really isn't a bad thing. So I like the way Jay adjusted in the second half to, more of the, pistol formation and, letting him trust in the offense and trust that he would be able to be effective. And, that pass, I was trying to find that pass to Crowder to put into the commercial I put out, because I didn't realize how nice that play was, because I thought the defender had hit the ball and Crowder had, had the awareness to catch it, but he actually deflected the ball from the defender and, made the catch for a crucial first down. So I like what I saw from him. I think he definitely can do better with more practice and more time in the offense. But what was your interpretation or your breakdown of Josh Johnson's first game as a starter and first victory as an NFL starter?
I think you see the importance, and I'm not going to sit up here and make excuses for the Giants' performance. That's for sure. But you see what a confident quarterback, a quarterback who understands and is confident in the huddle, calling the plays that they have for him. And willing to put it all out there on the line. And I think wonders for a team. I thought he played exceptionally well. I mean, obviously there's some things he could clean up. The miscues as far as inconsistency and his accuracy as far as the throwing, that's pretty much been his MO his entire career. But he also hasn't had really a lot of the opportunity to even have that corrected or try to, work on that. With that being said, though, I think in time, like you said, with time, they'll be able to connect with the receivers a lot better, be able to make more plays, and get a little bit more smoother rapport with those guys. But overall, for the circumstances that he was thrusted into, he did an exceptional job. And I felt like the second half was more his game. That's where he's going to excel. And kudos to Jay again for adjusting to that, because I think, honestly, we all know what Sanchez is, and no one's expecting him to come in and he is what he is. And he's shown that in his career.
But fumble.
Along with the lack of help. Along with the lack of help, he also didn't have an offense that was tailored to what he does best either. And I think you saw that with Josh Johnson trying to make him a pocket passer, but there could have been a little bit more of the boots, the rollouts, and the design things that they did in the second half and the first half. With that being said, the adjustments were made, and they were able to, ride that and turn the tide a bit, which was important. That was something that just needed to be done. It enabled them to get first down, things of that nature. His willingness to do that as well. I know a lot of people probably cringe when he hit first dive for first downs, but I think you gotta like that from this kid. He's not much of a kid, he's 32, but you gotta like that from him. He's going out there, putting it all on the line, realizing the opportunity that he's had, and is making plays and trying to help this team win. And that's very important. The guys see that, and it really works wonders for a team when you have guys showing that, hey, man, I know I haven't been here that long, but, I'm going to do all I can do to try to help us win a ball game.
Agreed. Just to give a quick scoring update, Carolina just scored on a 50-yard trick play where Cam Newton handed the ball off McCaffrey, and he threw a pass to the tight end Melendez for a 50-yard touchdown to take the lead over the Saints 7-0 in the first quarter with about, I think it's 7 minutes left. So this is an interesting game. 4 minutes left in the first quarter. It was a trick play that definitely worked. Caught the Saints defense, a little over aggressive. The tight end was wide open, and all they do is run to the end zone on a simple pitch and catch. So you can tune in after we get off the air. It looks like it's going to be an interesting Monday Night Football game. But also got to give a shout out to the offensive line, the backups and the injuries they took throughout the game. They still were able to, keep Johnson upright for the most part. I believe they only gave up 3 sacks. Excuse me. And they allowed Adrian Peterson to get those crucial yards in the fourth quarter when they got that turnover to get that field goal. So, I mean, this team, despite all the injuries, we saw the last 4 games, the way this team, found a way to lose in some cases and didn't give effort in some cases. But I mentioned on the pregame and the postgame that playing on the road was like a godsend for the team with all the distractions, all the, Twitter stuff that we don't talk about on this show because it's DC Sports about the politics. We talk about the on-the-field product. But I think it was good for them to be on the road to, get away and to have that, on-the-road mentality built in, and I think that helped them, win this game. What do you see from this team going forward before we break down the defense? Because we got to talk about the defense. But what do you see from this offense going forward with Josh Johnson? And looks like Jay is starting to understand how to tailor the game plan to fit his quarterback. I wish he would have did that from the jump. He changed up at halftime, which, like we said, I give him applauding for that because he rarely does that. But what do you see going forward from Josh Johnson and his offense before we start talking about the defense?
Quickly, I just want to mention, yes, Capri Bibbs was picked up by the Green Bay Packers today in a waiver, pickup there. And to answer that, it's going to be a tough road. I mean, I think, it's nice that they got a win, and it shows that it really shows that this team is not quitting on Jay, and I think obviously that's important. And like I was telling Robbie last week, people's jobs are at stake. You start losing and you start quitting and you start tanking. That stuff shows up on tape for the players, and it affects them getting jobs. And obviously coaches get canned, and whole coaching staffs get canned. And so, that you never want to see that, never want to do that. It hurts people for jobs down the road. Secondly, it's going to be tough with what they're dealing with on the offensive line. I think they're going to put out their best effort, and I think the effort will be there. Now, and the effort will be there on both sides of the ball, especially with what we saw. I think Washington had the ball for 33 minutes or so, and I think a lot of that came in that second half where they were able to sustain drives and whatnot, and those things are going to be important as they go down the stretch, and keeping their defense, arrested and whatnot. And obviously they still had some miscues, but not nearly to the level that we saw over the last 4 weeks, honestly. But I think this team's going to continue to fight. And that's really all fans can ask, given the circumstances. I mean, we're talking, 18, 19 IRs, and that's not including the other injuries of guys who aren't on IR. So you're talking upwards of 20, 21, 22 people injured, and a lot of these are starters. So, it's telling with Jay and how these players view him, because we've seen teams quit on coaches and are like, hey, I'm not playing for this guy. They've had this kind of thing go on before, and we've seen these types of wins, but don't expect anything spectacular. And I've heard from several fans how it was tough to watch, but it's going to be ugly, grind them out games, and maybe as Josh gets comfortable, some of these deep throws, deep balls, those anticipation throws when he was pressured, throwing some nice balls there to give guys opportunity, and a legitimate opportunity. We're not talking about Romo-esque throw it up for grabs and hope for the best. There were some really accurate throws that, one that Burton Davis could have had, that he's giving guys opportunities. So I think they're going to fight, though, and I think that's all fans can ask for and should be happy about. If they make the playoffs, that's cool, and it looks nice. At the end of the day, I think everybody is probably in agreement that there's not one team in this NFC East that is going to win a playoff game because they're all similar in stature. So, and who knows? I mean, anything's possible. That's why they play the games. But I think as long as they're giving the effort, win, lose, or draw, I think fans should be happy about that. And the fact that this team is not giving up, they're not quitting, and they're not allowing what we've had a kind of a drama-esque a few weeks kind of allow this season to go awry and be a season of like a complete and utter implosion. So I expected the offense to keep doing what they do, and Josh Johnson is providing an awesome dynamic with the other veteran guys on that offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I definitely think he's going to add a spark with his ability to be mobile and break the pocket And I think that's what, was been missing, needing someone to get that extra yard. Greg asked about Colt McCoy and would he be ready back for playoffs. I believe he won't be back, with rehab and everything until next season. So if they do make the playoffs, I think they're stuck with, Johnson and Sanchez going forward. But definitely this offense could use that spark of Johnson. Let's get to the defense before we start talking about the Tennessee game upcoming, because they just put a donut on the board yesterday. So the defense yesterday, in my opinion, especially after the game we saw the week before, they definitely stepped up. There were still some mistakes, but they were getting off the field on third down. They forced some turnovers. They got Jacksonville off the field, even though Jacksonville's offense isn't nothing to be really scared of. But they did what they were supposed to do, and they held up even when the team went down. They were still doing what they were doing. And Fabian Moreau, who, you and I just talked about the last time we were on there together, how, him being on the outside, I thought, Johnson would be better. But on that play, Johnson and Moreau were there on that play. Gladly, Johnson didn't jump up and try to make a play. He just, stopped. Moreau was there. Johnny on the spot. Ran it back to the 50. We know the rest. So, I was thoroughly impressed with this defense, even though, like I said, it was a subpar offense they went up against. They only averaged 16.3 points a game and 13 points in the last 9. So there really wasn't a threat to score 13 this game. And it wasn't for the punt return, they wouldn't have had that. So, this week going with Tennessee with another mobile quarterback that the team is going to have to face that uses the zone read, the option, and does have some legitimate pass-catching threats. What did you like what you saw from this game, and what are they going to have to take in the next game against the Titans to try to keep this slim playoff run hope alive?
There's no doubt that the Jacksonville Jaguars are a dumpster fire, especially on offense. With that said, though, they still have Leonard Fournette, quality running games. We know that this Redskins defense has given up more to less opposing running backs over the past 4 weeks. I think we talked about it. They were upwards of over 1,400 yards of total offense, in the last 4 games. And considering they played a pretty good job, did a pretty good job of stopping the run. They were swarming. The defensive line was getting pushed. And again, I've said it week after week after week that the tackling was better, but it was sporadic at times. You saw that with a couple of the Kessler runs, a couple of the runs from the running backs. Then you look at the gap responsibility. If any reporter out there is continuously saying that is not the case, you are fooling yourself and really aren't paying attention. For the last 4 weeks, and again, we saw it at times in this game, guys not keeping contained. Back bounces outside there and a soul out there. Why? Because homeboys crash down. Instead of doing his job and keeping contained, if it forces it back inside, there's tons of players there to make that tackle. Guys shooting the gap and it's not staying within their gap, shooting a gap that they're not responsible for, leaving a vacated hole. Guess who's going through there? Running back, quarterback, getting extra yards, getting yards to sustain drives. Thought the corners played very well. There were some small issues, but and I'll piggyback off of what you said about Fabian. I'm not sure fans realize how important that interception was. And it's not so much the fact that he made it, it's the fact that he was paying attention
6 sacks was definitely, had me smiling. I love seeing pressure. I love seeing contained for the most part. They did, give us some rushing lanes to catch. I believe he had like 63 yards rushing. But, he's a young guy, scrapper, trying to prove that he belongs in the NFL. So he took advantage of every opportunity he had. But the D-line played stellar. The front seven for the most part played okay. We talked about, you mentioned vacating the spots. I saw Mason Foster for the 6th week in the row doing the same thing, vacating his responsibility and going to a spot or a hole that he wasn't responsible for, and the player, running back, quarterback, going to the spot that he vacated. So, but they still played as a unit. They still were effective against a non-effective offense. So they did what they're supposed to do. 6 sacks. Hopefully that keeps them inspired going against Tennessee. Let's get into Tennessee, who put a donut. Oh, yeah, I do got to give Ha some credit. He did have that was his best game as a Redskin since he signed with the team.
Yes, thought he played very well. He was where he was supposed to be when he needed to be there. Most importantly, he made very good tackles. There was a couple times he saved his teammates from giving up big plays because he was right there, made the tackle, secured it up, and didn't allow that thing to get out of hand. So thought he played extremely well and was a huge part in it as well.
Agreed, 100%. We're definitely going to need him to play well for a second week in a row on Saturday at 4:30 when the Redskins take on Tennessee. And because Mariota, he's a mobile quarterback. They use a lot of zone read, a lot of pistol. Mike Vrabel is a very unorthodox coach. He goes for it on 4th down. He calls trick plays. He does what the traditional NFL coach wouldn't do. But for the most part, he's had more success with it than not, so he's going to stick with it. So we're definitely going to need the defense to be on point, stay gap disciplined, and trust their assignment, not get fooled with their eyes. But what do you see from this upcoming matchup with Tennessee fighting for playoff position, Redskins fighting for playoff hopes, and what do you see from this defense trying to contain this offense that has so many different looks and so many different variety plays?
Well, this is the thing, and you look back at with them playing the Giants and blanking them. Mariota was 12 of 20 for 88 yards. Okay, so not a really big time thing passing wise. And he's been like that all season long. He's up and down. He's ice cold. He didn't have a lot of rushing yards, but that could probably be attributed to the fact that Derrick Henry had 170 of those. Not really necessary. Not really necessary if you had for him to run if you got a guy doing that. And I think that's where it all stems. Henry rushed 33 times alone. That's not including the 7 from Lewis and the 5 from Mariota. So they're going to be run heavy, and that's that's where it's going to be important, where they have the same type of performance that they had against the Jacksonville Jaguars. You're going to have to stop the run. Derrick Henry's been lighting it up.
Yeah, I watched that game at Jacksonville. Yeah, I watched that Jacksonville game when he had that 99-yard touchdown. I believe we were doing a Thursday night show. And I had to look back because I was like, hold up, that didn't just happen. And I was like, yeah, that did just happen. And he pulled the Marshawn Lynch on him and just started stiff-arming folks and just said, I'm not going to be denied. So the Redskins are definitely going to have to give their maximum effort, going to stay gas down, wrap up and tackle. Don't be going for the strip but going for the fumble. You got to wrap up this dude with 2 hands and pull this dude down, because once he get his momentum and his speed going, it ain't no easy tackle getting this dude down. So they definitely going to have to be in their P's and Q's. What do you expect from this offense against Tennessee's defense, which is a pretty formidable defense? They can get a lot of pressure, give you a lot of different looks, and you never know where the pressure is coming from. But when it gets there, and it's a lot of it. So what do you expect from this offense going up against this Titans defense?